had a recent update. How will it change what the meta picks are going to be inside the draft? I think that's what everyone is going to be most curious about, because this is going to be the first major tournament happening after the recent update.
Yeah. So far, well, I think the general idea is still the same, right? You still have power picks like Jusin and Joy and the Granger all going through. Of course, Blacklist getting major power picks on their side. Gatot Kacha as well as the third pick. Lazy able to lock in the Harith and the Suyo. But yeah, so most of the assassins are let through, but this Joy Suyo matchup has been a classic ever since M6.
That was the contested matchup throughout the entirety of the M series. If one team has Joy, the other team will have Suyo. But in general, a lot of people will agree that Joy does match up a little bit better into this 1v1 in the jungle. So Lazy Esports still going for Suyo in the end. Shows that they just want to make sure that they can solidify in what is currently the meta pick. Since they also went for that Harith very early on, this is a hero that recently got updated, right? There's been notable buffs to that skill too, making it a little easier to use and more spammable overall, so the damage output is just more consistent. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see the brand new hero Lucas here, as it is the final ban from Lazy Esports.
We see the Cho and the Fovis banned as well by Blacklist because they have plenty of dashes to work with, but my mind instantly gets drawn to a potential Kufra for Lazy Esports if they still want to directly answer these mobility skills from Blacklist. They haven't revealed it yet, so Parkback can definitely go for that. But for Blacklist, they are still missing out on that mid and potential roam because it's a flex Gatot. So with this CC locked in, it's going to be a Gatot roam for sure.
Gatot roam still going to be pretty solid, but I would ideally like to have a secondary initiation. I highlighted this quite a bit during the M series as well. I don't really like Gatot as the main form of engage because Avatar the Guardian can be a bit unreliable. So since they went CC, they still don't really have that, which might make their team fighting a little bit more difficult. So they're going more for a skirmish style right now with CC and Joy having high mobility, but maybe split up the team fight against Lazy.
Yeah, even CC got some decent buff lately. It's not the biggest one, but I think they increased like her attack range, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
for the yo-yos. Yeah, so that it does make it slightly more bearable, especially in lane where she already kind of excels in 1v1. But the Jawhead Arlet from Lazy Esports, so talk about having multiple initiations that Blacklist lacks, while Lazy Esports has more than just one of them.
Yeah, I do like the options that Lazy have gone for here. These are two heroes that are able to hold their own fairly well. Jawhead especially is going to help deal with the Joy a little bit in the early game, but it also means that you're going to have to commit those resources to MP quite often, since Joy is still going to be very, very slippery. And Arlet, unfortunately, isn't really going to win lane against CC most of the time, so the goal there is just to try and hold it against a Blacklist International, who will finish things off with the Valentina. Very classic pick for Haji in the mid lane.
How could we have forgotten about it? It actually did cross my mind, but I wasn't sure because Lazy hadn't picked their last two picks. But with the Arlet on their end, this Valentina now makes a lot more sense. You could steal that final slash and have a second layer of initiation for your team when needed. I think Blacklist definitely had a very good idea with that last pick going into this. It's quite rare that you see the mid laner getting shoved in the last in the last pick. So I think this adjustment definitely gave Blacklist a lot more agency to work with in this game one. But what do you feel about the draft, or like which team sort of has the skills in their favor?
I personally feel like Blacklist International has a slightly more solid lineup, but it is also a little bit more difficult to play with. In the early game, Lazy Esports will have a slight advantage if they're able to play around the Jawhead and Zeusin mid-roam combo, because that is a huge amount of displacement. If you're able to play that around with Suyo, who has very good early game burst, to try and stifle the early game momentum of Joy, it will give Lazy Esports a bit more space to play around, and space is going to be a very important factor in this game in particular, because neither of these teams are playing your classic front to back, right? It's very, very skirmishy.
Jump into game one and see if Lazy Esports can surprise us. And interestingly enough, you talk about Blacklist having this skirmishy hit and run comp and Lazy Esports having a lot of displacement. It seems to me, on paper at least, that it is a decent solution to deal with Blacklist, right? They want to come in and get the drive-by, but you have so many ways to just lift them out of position and isolate them from the rest of the team.
And the difficult part though is that, like we mentioned, right, JM going to have a much better lineup against Dur in the EXP lane, so that already reduces a bit of the map pressure that Lazy would like to have in the early game. And in comparison, a lot of the burst damage on Lazy is put on Shizo and James Punk specifically. So if MP is able to just dive into the back line and separate them alongside JM, hold on.
We grab Persada back, and that would be first blood going over to Lazy. The Jawhead picks up the kill, and JM wants to go for the Jawhead, doesn't find him. Pakbet gets out, flickers traded on both sides.
Unfortunate for Blacklist, weren't able to get more than that, but First Blood is still going to be very, very good. And even forcing out the Revitalize, Persada wasn't able to survive that. So already a pretty good start and good response here from Lazy to make sure that they didn't give away more kills. The early game is a very important timing for them with this mid-roam and jungle combination. Oh,
well, Turtle taken by Lazy. That's a lift back. Chovskirts tries to go for multiple targets. But the flicker committed by Dirt, that's another kill for Lazy, so they have 3 so far, but at least Haji was able to secure one on the way out. Still gonna get lifted back.
Oh!
Yeah, a couple of Haji displacement. Out of this world, steals the juice in now, still gets lifted back, but Chov doesn't have the mana, so Haji escapes.
And that is why the man is still known as the KDA machine, turning around that situation. Definitely a bit too deep of a dive there. I think Lazy didn't consider the possibility of the Zeus'in ult being stolen to give just that extra bit of durability at the end, because otherwise that should have been a kill. Now this Valentina is 2-0, but now Persada
gonna use the AOG just to escape, so big engage 2 eliminated, but thankfully for Blacklist, no objectives, no point of interest on the map just yet. So he's gonna have it back up for next turtle. They're not so lucky though, tries to use the Vengeance to gain some distance, refreshes the Demon Mark, but MP the King on the K. James Punks re-engages, gets the stun off. MP the King gets out, but Outplay will not.
Outplayed, gonna be ganked on the opposite side of the map. That is good communication there from Lazy, right? They see that the enemy jungle is on the top half of the map. They instantly rotate over to punish the less manned gold lane and give Shizo a little bit of that lead. This is a Harif versus a Granger, so Shizo will have the natural early to mid game advantage, and the more they snowball, the slower they can delay the stacking of Outplayed on this Granger. Lazy, I still think, is the easier composition to play, especially early to mid game. So this is the timing that they have to capitalize on the most.
Yeah. We also are noticing some of the advantages Lazy Esports has. Because how is Blacklist going to open up the map without the Gatar, right? And you're running into a Jawhead Jusin who could just, again, displace you like they do now. Revitalize can get used, Final Slash on the 2 jungle. Turtle stolen by MP the King. Shido joins the fight. He's in the middle of all of it. Chrono dashes out of the way. MP the King is just dancing around the battlefield. Dur will not survive, unfortunately. Will just have to give his life up. Double kill for Outplay. Shizo now trapped underneath his own turret. JM Pigman not able to get out. Chove on his tail, lifts him back. Not in turret range, but still beams him down. Either way, Blacklist wins the fight, gets the objective, and now Haji once more. Death Sonata into a snipe mega kill for Outplay.
A massive victory here for Blacklist International. They basically did wipe the entirety of Lazy Esports there. And Lazy unfortunately made the mistake of getting a little bit overconfident in their engagement. They wanted to take out Persada before the turtle fight could begin, but this is a Catan. It's still going to take a lot of resources to take him out. And because they used all of their cooldowns, it's instantly go time for Blacklist. They normally would not be that good in a straight up 5v5 situation, but when Lazy is not positioned for it and have already used a bunch of their important abilities, it becomes very easy for them to run them down. MP, even being able to steal a turtle on top of it, instantly reverses momentum in favor of Blacklist International.
A lot of single target controls from Lazy, but like you said, very cooldown dependent. We saw MP just dancing around the backline of Lazy Esports, But all things considered, we're looking at a 2k gold lead for Blacklist International. No turrets have been felled just yet. 6 minutes into the game. Pretty slow considering that all the fight that has happened so far, right? 12 total kills across both teams.
Yeah, the ideal for Lazy in engagements is to slow it down and catch Blacklist when they're separate, because their composition is very good at doing that. If they're not able to do that and just try and run them down instead, we already see what Blacklist is capable of. This is a team that actually does have a pretty glaring weakness, and that Gatot is the only form of engage. I already highlighted it during the draft. So if they can force Persada to use up his resources beforehand, Blacklist instantly has to position very defensively. So slower, more controlled engagements are preferred here for Lazy. Notice for now, they're controlling the turtle pit.
Persada tries to use the AOG, gets control, he goes down, flick a final slash. Ooh. Good engage from Dur. And this time, Lazy Esports does the prep work just right, finding 3 kills. And an eventual turtle at the cost of just their roamer.
That's exactly what I was talking about, right? You take out Persada first, then slowly displace the rest of Blacklist, because after that, they just don't have a front line, right? Especially since JM went for Flicker instead of Vengeance on this CC. Persada is the only real tank that Blacklist can depend on. I think Lazy positioned themselves really nicely there. We're able to get the turtle, now even up the network lead. And if they can continue building this up, it will be great, because Blacklist is quite heavily depending on the third to fourth item spike on MP and Outplayed before they can really make an impact in team fights.
That's the... Wow, for a while I thought it was the AOG for Persada. He was just buffering the taunt. So far we've been seeing Blacklist react to Lazy, because Lazy is the one trying to displace targets, going for these pickoffs. Like how they did with Persada again, they're just no going out. They're gonna send him straight back to the fountain. But is there a way for Blacklist to take initiative, right? Get an engage off, or is it going to be a constant tug of war where they have to wait for cooldowns from Lazy?
Well, speaking of, Lazy gonna find Outplayed again, tries to throw him, uses the flicker, so the Granger is out. But to answer your question, Husky, Blacklist literally cannot start a fight. They just do not have the lineup to do it, because again, Avatar of the Guardian is not a reliable fight starter. The only way they can be the ones in control is if Lazy makes a mistake and overcommits, like we saw in that one fight earlier in the game. Otherwise, with Azusin and Jahid, Lazy will always have vision control and zoning potential. Blacklist are the ones that have to slow it down, wait for resources to be committed so that MP can go in later while whittling them down from behind with the Granger. Otherwise, Lazy controls most of the fights until scaling really kicks in.
You can see Lord spawns right now, and MP just got his Holy Crystal. Then the pullback to Persada. Pugback can't get it right now, so could be an opportunity to re-engage with the AOG. Crimson Beacon used, but MP just danced on the top of Chope. Chope will disengage, but this fight is already done. JM Pigman on top of Dur. Dur goes down. Double kill for MP, and Blacklist now has the Lord open for business.
If they're able to catch Lazy off guard themselves, then that's actually pretty good, but Lazy still looking to try and contest here.
Shield damage out of this world. Still though, Blacklist International secures the Lord. This is going to be finally a tool for them to accelerate the game a little bit. But I mean, all these considered, right? Like Persada, he's been having a pretty rough time. But Blacklist International, they're starting to hit those power spikes, especially MP with that Holy Crystal damage. He is just ripping through Lazy Esports health bars.
Yeah, like I mentioned, once we see the third, fourth item timing come in for MP and Outplayed, Blacklist's mid to late game damage is actually terrifying, right? They're able to whittle down Lazy from afar, and a lot of these heroes on Lazy's side are going to start dropping off in like general utility, right? Jahid especially is going to feel the heat of not being able to survive damage quite a bit. So Persada, even though he's been having a rough time, right, that is kind of expected as the solo Gatot. You know you are going to die a lot against a Jahid Zusin. If you're able to throw away to force out all of their resources, it is actually very worth it at this point, because Blacklist, they don't really even... Oh!
Whoa! That's a straight up assassination.
Well, well, that's unfortunate right there. A little bit of underestimation, because I didn't manage to bring this up earlier because I just didn't have the time to do it. But James Punks has a Sky Piercer, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Not your classic item choice on Suyo. He actually bought it when his score was 0-2. So I wondered, like, is this a good idea? But in situations like that, well, you can see the effect.
Yeah. And we just blow them up before they could do much, right? I suppose it also makes sense that the whole idea is to displace your enemy, you know, like how in Trex's word, give him the stiff arm treatment and take them down when they're isolated. Persada does engage with AOG, but look at him dropping like 4-man final slash from Durst, setting it up for the rest of Lazy. Haji will not get out, and KDA is ruined. MP getting out of the fight, but Blacklist just lost 3, and a second Sky Piercer for Lazy, this time on Chovsker.
I will continue saying it. Got taught as your primary, and in this case, only initiator, is just not good enough. You started the fight with Avatar the Guardian. What are you going to do next, right? And it was even in a funnel. Blacklist's positioning was just not good enough, and then they all got caught in the final slash. It was an absolute disaster. And now Lazy Esports is fully in control. They gotta slow it down more. Blacklist cannot be the ones jumping the gun, because the only way they win fights is by forcing Lazy Esports to be the ones to do it instead.
Is it finally time for Haji to start considering that I need to help out my Gatot by somehow getting the final slash, if he even has vision of Dur? Because I don't think the Arlott has exposed himself to this Valentina the entire game, at least not enough for Haji to steal that final slash away.
Yeah, I think Dur has been doing a very good job of keeping his positioning apart, because he knows that without that final slash, Blacklist just don't have any alternative way of engaging, right? But now the Lord being contested once again.
Persada once more just got controlled to oblivion. Pugman barely escaping with the life. The eject button did give him the shield. The big arrow from James Punks as well. There's 3 members of Blacklist. It's getting chunked out in the bush. So back to square one. Lazy Esports, they can do this all day. Final slash did get stolen by Haji though. Dur was just on the edge of the bush, so he's not gonna get hit. JM Pigman though will go down as Shizo gets a mega kill streak, and this is certified Lord for Lazy Esports.
You know, I think this is like a very appropriate situation, because Shizo is using the new Killua Hunter x Hunter skin. And anyone who watches the show knows that Killua's electric mode is called Godspeed, and Shizo is called Shizo God. So I couldn't have lined it up better myself, Husky. It's just like fate coming into play here.
I went for a 10 draw and I got the skin, so yeah, it makes me happy to see Killua getting featured in the first game. Getting off to a good New Year start for sure.
Having a great time here. Harif is a hero that got recently buffed, like we mentioned during the draft. Able to do damage more consistently, has more access to dashing. In exchange, the dash distance was reduced slightly, but it really doesn't matter.
Well, again, Persada is out, and a big control in the backline. AOG was used to escape, but Shizo needs to go down, and he will. MP the King gives in the 10,000 volt treatment. Similar Electric Cat as a double kill for MP the King, and Blacklist International stays alive.
That was a bit of a mistake. I actually quite like the aggressive play to catch out Persada, but I really don't know why Shizo went that deep in. He got caught in the curtain call, and then it was actually just curtains for him, because Harif needs that freedom of movement. Blacklist now fully capitalizing.
And double Sky Piercer going to work, but it's actually just enough to take down 2 members on the side of Blacklist. Lazy Esports does get wiped out, but Pugman will be back up. And unfortunately, Blacklist, they just do not have the resources to take any inhibitors, and they even lost one of their own. The top inhibitor just went down, bottom one has a big wave pushing in, the mid one is also in shambles. So all Lazy Esports needs to do is just give it a bit of a love tap, and all those structures will start crumbling.
I gotta give props to Lazy though. That play takes some guts. It is really risky to throw your 2 remaining living players at 4 members of the enemy team when the rest of your squad is like still quite some time away from respawning, and the crystal could be exposed, right? The fact they were actually able to trade for 2 members meant that Blacklist couldn't push any further. It could have been cleaner, definitely, but they were able to just achieve the minimum of what they needed to get to make sure that the game didn't end right there on the spot. So it is actually surprisingly close, right? The MDL champions showing us why a lot of people have been seeing them as a bit of a dark horse. And Blacklist International now having to be much more careful. It is clear that Lazy still makes mistakes, right? Shizo, if he didn't get caught out in that previous team fight, could have completely changed how it went. So it is anyone's game at this point. You just have to see who is able to operate a bit more cleanly.
I think Persada also tried to find a solution to stay alive longer. I believe he got a Winter Crown for this next fight. I know someone got a Winter Crown Blacklist, so Persada is the one that makes the most sense. He's going to start the aggro on the Lord, but if you're lazy, you're really not in a rush to take this objective, right? Let Blacklist do the work and just, you know, continue to stiff arm them, continue to poke them from afar, let that top wave build up, and eventually Blacklist will have to deal with it.
Yeah. Right now, though, 16 minutes in, Lazy Esports genuinely has to be very wary of MP and Outplayed's positions, right? These two heroes do a lot of damage.
Haji Cash, stolen final slash, a 1-for-1. Sky Piercer takes out Persada. The front line just disappeared. Crimson Beacon from Chosker trying to grab MP back. MP now goes down, completely blown up, and Pinkman, he's the one with the Winter Crown. James Punks finds a double kill in the process as Pinkman now with the yo-yos actually was able to take down Shizo, but still James Punks, money on the eyes on the prize, takes the Lord, final slash, well done by Dur, and his outplay against Chop and James Punk, and he just cannot hold on. Shut down by the Suyo. Lazy Esports finds the wipeout.
Beautifully played by Lazy Esports. There was good attempts coming in here from Blacklist International to try and turn that fight around. But with that wipeout and minions already in the base of Blacklist, Lazy Esports will upset the turntables and take game number 1.
We did come into this series predicting it to be a